What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA, and this is my review of M3GAN, my first film review of 2023. It's directed by Gerard Johnstone. It stars Allison Williams, Jenna Davis, Violet McGraw, Ronny Chieng, and Jenn Van Epps. All right, what did I think of M3GAN? Thought it was fun. I thought it was a lot of fun, okay? I think this is definitely a film that a lot of people, even if you're not a horror fan, you'll enjoy. Even if you scare easily, because it's not really that scary, you know? It's more of a comedy than anything. And, you know, I think a lot of people that can get into these particular characters, I thought the characters were the biggest thing in this film. Very well drawn characters. Each character has their own kind of different little world that they're living in, different motivations, and it's all well connected together. I thought that they did an excellent job with that. The chick from Get Out, Allison Williams, is the lead. She does a very, very good job. Like I said, her character probably better than anybody. Very well written. She plays like kind of this geeky, nerdy inventor, right, who makes toys for children. And she's under pressure from her boss to kind of turn out the latest and greatest, biggest thing in, you know, the toy manufacturing game. And so she comes up with this concept for M3GAN. She tries it out on her niece, who's played by Violet McGraw. Her parents just passed away, died in a tragic accident, you know, saying, well, this doll will act as kind of a surrogate parent in a way, but also as a friend, somebody that can help this child get over her grief, okay? So there's a lot going on with this particular story, not just your standard, hey, this person's going to be a friend, you know, and this little doll is going to be a friend to this child, and then the doll turns on her. There's a lot going on underneath the surface with all of these characters, and I thought that the writing by Akilah Cooper, who also wrote *Malignant*, really comes together very, very well. I think she's a gem of a writer, and I think she's got a very, very bright future ahead of her. But like I said, it's a great story, not very scary, not necessarily a big amount of scares, and from the fact that this was a rated R film and then they cut down the rated R-ness of it, they took all the gore and the blood out, they just kind of left it with, you know, kind of cutaway as soon as some violence is about to start happening. You know, it definitely tones down the feel of the movie, definitely takes it from being horrifying and, you know, frightening and possibly scary to something just like, it's a little bit edgy, there's some terror, but not really, you know, horror, you know, and that's really what you want from a horror film. It's a standard AI goes wrong kind of movie, you know, and we're all familiar with that concept. Like I said, we saw that in the Child's Play from 2019 that was made a couple of years ago. Same kind of concept, basically, you know, the AI runs amok, starts terrorizing the family. That's kind of where we're at. And here's the problem that I have with these kind of stories is that they all kind of feel the same, right? You know, the AI takes over the computers, the lights in the house, everything starts going kablooey because the AI can apparently control everything that's electronic. You know, you can call people on the phone, mimic voices and all that kind of stuff. You know, we've seen those beats. But the thing is that this does it very, very well. I'm not saying that it's bad, okay? But it's just kind of like, all right, been there, done that. You know, I wish they would have did something maybe a little bit different with this particular film. But nevertheless, I still think they did an excellent job. It really comes together really on the second half of the film. First half is a whole lot of setup, but the second half, once we start getting into M3GAN, you know, kind of turning on these folks, and then this thing just goes on a roller coaster ride. It's a whole lot of fun, and yeah, I definitely highly recommend it. Anybody out there looking for a good movie to check out? Again, not very scary, so if you're a horror fan, don't think that you're going out there to get a lot of thrills and scares. It's not that kind of a film, but it's still a lot of fun. It's very enjoyable. I think most people like it. But let's go ahead and check out the review ratings that I set up, and we'll go a little bit deeper. All right, folks, so here we are with the ratings for M3GAN. Let's go ahead and check that out. First up, of course, is direction. It was directed by a director named Gerard Johnstone. Never heard of him before this movie. Never heard his name mentioned anywhere. But this is clearly a guy that knows his horror beats, okay? He's a New Zealand horror director, at least from what I've read about him. And like I said, I'd never heard of him before. I looked up his little IMDb. He's directed one movie prior to this. It was a film called Housebound, okay? And I mean, when I watched the trailer for that thing, I'm like, oh, I gotta watch this movie next, okay? This thing looked absolutely hilarious. I absolutely think that this guy has a bright, bright future ahead of him because this film, M3GAN, phenomenal. Okay, great job. Didn't overstay its welcome. It's about an hour and maybe 45 minutes or somewhere in that range, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. Pacing was absolutely perfect. And like I said, it didn't waste a lot of time in and out. Now, the only thing that did bother me was just maybe the setup at the beginning. Okay, the setup is very, very long. Okay, I don't know if it takes like maybe a half hour to 45 minutes to really start to get into this film. All right, there's some moments of drag at the very beginning, but once it gets going, it gets going. Okay, and it's a lot of fun, definitely in the second half of the film. So yeah, I think that is absolutely a solid start for the year for horror, and a great job by this guy, Gerard Johnstone. I'm gonna go ahead and give direction an 8.0. All right, next up is script and story. So like I said, Akilah Cooper. Man, I really enjoyed *Malignant*. I mean, James Wan has found himself a gem of a horror writer. Okay, this chick really, really knows her stuff. Okay, she is clearly a talented, kind of offbeat horror writer. This film fits right in line with *Malignant*. It's that kind of a film. She has a great imagination. The film, like I said, because of the topic, does suffer from a teeny tiny bit of a lack of creativity, okay? Because we've seen this all before. Been there, done that with the whole AI thing. But really what makes it work is that the character of Megan is very, very well drawn. It would have been easier just to kind of make her just some kind of a psycho robot or whatever, but they don't do that, you know? They kind of build towards that, and her character goes through a lot of different changes as she's kind of learning how to, you know, adjust to her situation. Megan is like a learning robot, and it's kind of interesting to see, okay, I'm picking up little bits of information here and there. I'm learning this about these people. I'm learning this about these people. Okay, I think I know how things work. All right. And now I'm kind of maneuvering things differently. That's the kind of character that Megan is. Okay. The other characters as well. Like I said, Violet McGraw's character is really well written as well. Okay, the little girl, she's absolutely fantastic in this, you know, in terms of the character itself. And like I already mentioned, Allison Williams' character also very well done. The comedy in this film is absolutely hilarious. Plenty of laughs. Comedy was 100% on point. Like I said, the only thing that this thing is really missing is just a lot of fear and dread and scares. Okay, it doesn't have a lot of scares to it, but nevertheless, still a very solid job in the writing department. I'm gonna go ahead and give that a 7.5. All right, next up is, of course, acting. Allison Williams does a good job. You know, her character is really the, you know, she's the protagonist. Her character really comes out, really shines in a lot of different ways. And the two people behind the doll, okay, the Amy Donald, I think is her name, and then Jenna Davis is the voice of Megan. Perfect. All right. I mean, I was absolutely lost in their performance, and there are times where it's like, man, I'm not sure if this is a real person inside or if this is an actual robot. It all came together perfectly. I thought that that was definitely the highlight of the show, or the film, is the acting by those two actresses. A lot of the laughs in this film are really attributed to the script, you know, like the writer writes in a lot of the weird, creepy, quirky, kind of funny stuff, like that dance that you see, of course, that's been on everywhere, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all over the place, TikTok, of course. That is all writing, but Ronny Chieng, who plays Gemma's boss, his comedic timing is absolutely perfect. You know, he has a way of just bringing comedy out of a role that could probably just be played straight, but his comedic timing really added a lot to that role. I think that he did a phenomenal job. And then, like I said, the young girl, Violet McGraw, as good as well. Really can't complain about any of the actors in this particular film. I'm gonna go ahead and give them all a solid 7.5. All right, and finally we get to sights and sounds. Now, you guys know me. You'll hear me say this a lot on the horror reviews that I do, but I think sights and sounds is probably the easiest thing to get right. You know, it's kind of hard to screw it up. I think if you do it right, it's pretty easy to get it right. And if you do it right, you're going to get a lot of scares. You're going to get an enjoyable experience for the crowd. Okay. Setups and angles. And then, of course, you have the music choices, you know, the creepy music and the sounds that are, you know, kind of ambient sounds that are around. That's really what makes a horror film really solid. Setups and angles, you know, walking down hallways, you know, the camera movement, that sort of thing, you know, along with, like, you know, the different locations where this particular scene is being set, like that forest scene in this, phenomenal. Love the way that that was shot. And then, of course, music choices and then sound usage and everything. All of that feeds into the horror film, the horror vibe, creates the creeps that you're looking for when you're watching a horror film. So I think that that stuff is really the crux of pretty much any good horror film, and I think it's done to like almost near perfection with this one. But the thing that nails it is the doll's makeup and the visuals and the way that that doll looks. Okay, this film doesn't work right if this doll doesn't work right. Okay, this doll has to be creepy, this doll has to like be believable, and that's what brings this thing home. All right, that's what really brings this thing across the finish line, at least for me. Okay, because if the character, this little character of Megan, if she doesn't work, this movie doesn't work, okay? But she makes it really work. Whoever handled makeup, whoever handled the, you know, special effects and the look of Megan, I absolutely give this film to them. They did a great job. And I'm going to give the overall look, sights, and sounds an 8.5. All right, and then of course, if we do the math and we add it all up and get to the total score, we wind up with the first film being a solid 8.0. Anyway, folks, that's my review for Megan. What did you think about this film? I know a lot of people went and already saw it. I'm a little bit on the late freight, but go ahead, drop down, give me your thoughts and your opinions on Megan. All right, let's go ahead and check out the scoreboard. First film, I wonder where this one will end up on my scoreboard overall. All right, so here we are, the 2023 movie ratings board. Of course, number one is Megan. I'm looking forward to filling this entire thing up. Didn't get to all the movies that I wanted to get to in 2022. And so you got some big ones coming up there that you can see up there at the top. Indiana Jones, of course, as an Indiana Jones guy, I'm going to go and watch it just because Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite film. I've seen all of these films in theaters. The last one was a huge disappointment. I have a feeling this next one's going to be a disappointment, but I'll be there in the theaters on opening night to check that out. But in a couple of other ones, John Wick, definitely looking forward to John Wick, looking forward to Mission Impossible. Oppenheimer, we see that one up there. Cocaine Bear, I think that's going to be an absolute hilarious one, along with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So you can see the graphics up there. And then of course Aquaman and Dune to kind of round it off. Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I think this is going to be a very interesting year for film, because last year we saw the box office didn't do everything it should have done. Okay, so I'm curious to see what some of these Marvel films are going to be, if they're going to be any good, you know. But we saw that 2022 was a down year for film, and at least in terms of some of the big box office hits that they were expecting. Obviously, Top Gun Maverick did well, Avatar as well, and Jurassic Park Dominion all cracked over $1 billion. Minions did well, but you know, a lot of disappointment. So we're going to see what happens this year, but I'll be here to review as many films as I can possibly review in theaters and give you guys my thoughts. But anyway, folks, let me know what your upcoming films in 2023, which ones are you looking forward to? I'm thinking like right above that little list, that's kind of my most anticipated films of the year. But you guys go ahead, jump down, give me your thoughts and your opinions. Thanks for watching. See you next time.